As the sun began to set and the sky turned a deep shade of orange, Freddie and Ferdy realized that they were in trouble. They had been so busy exploring the meadow that they had lost track of time, and now they had no idea how to get back to their pond. "Oh no," Freddie exclaimed. "We're lost, Ferdy. What are we going to do?" Ferdy thought for a moment, his little ferret brain working hard. Then, he had an idea. "We'll follow our noses," he exclaimed. "We'll just sniff our way back home." And so, Freddie and Ferdy set off, their noses to the ground, following their senses back towards their pond. They sniffed and snuffled and snorted, determined to find their way home. As they walked, they encountered all sorts of obstacles and challenges. They had to hop over logs and crawl under bushes, and they even had to wade through a shallow stream. But they never gave up, and they never stopped following their noses. After what seemed like an eternity, they saw a glimmer of green in the distance. It was their pond. They had found their way home at last. Freddie and Ferdy were overjoyed. They hugged and danced and celebrated, grateful to be back in the safety and comfort of their beloved pond. But their adventure was far from over. As they settled in for the night, they heard a loud, ominous growl coming from the bushes. "What was that?" Freddie asked, his voice shaking with fear. Ferdy peered into the bushes, his sharp eyes scanning the darkness. "It's a bear," he exclaimed. "We have to get out of here." Freddie's eyes widened in terror. He had never seen a bear before, and he had no idea how to escape. Ferdy, however, was not one to be deterred. He grabbed Freddie by the hand and pulled him to his feet. "Come on," he shouted. "We have to run." And so, Freddie and Ferdy ran. They ran as fast as their little legs could carry them, darting through the bushes and leaping over logs. They could hear the bear growling and snapping at their heels, but they didn't look back. They just kept running. Finally, they reached the safety of their pond. They collapsed on the grass, panting and gasping for air. "We made it," Freddie exclaimed, tears of relief streaming down his face. Ferdy nodded, a wide smile on his face. "We made it, thanks to you," he said, patting Freddie on the back. "You were so brave." Freddie blushed. He had never thought of himself as brave, but maybe, just maybe, he was. And from that day on, Freddie and Ferdy knew that they could conquer any challenge as long as they had each other by their side. They were the best of friends, and nothing would ever change that. The next morning, Freddie and Ferdy woke up to the sound of birds singing and the sun shining brightly in the sky. They stretched and yawned and smiled, feeling rested and refreshed after their adventure. But as they looked around, they noticed that something was different. The meadow looked bigger and more beautiful than ever before, and there were all sorts of new sights and sounds to explore. "I think we should go on another adventure today," Freddie's eyes lit up at the idea. "Yes, let's do it," he exclaimed. And so, Freddie and Ferdy set off on a new adventure, exploring the meadow and all of its wonders. They chased butterflies and caught fireflies, and they even climbed to the top of a tall hill to get a better view of the surrounding countryside. As the day drew to a close, they found themselves at the edge of a dense, dark forest. They had never ventured into the forest before, but they were not afraid. They were brave, and they had each other. "Let's go in," Ferdy said, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "Okay," Freddie agreed, taking a deep breath. "But we have to be careful. We don't want to get lost again." Ferdy nodded. "We won't," he said. "We'll just follow our noses, like we did before." And so, Freddie and Ferdy set off into the forest, their noses to the ground, following their senses through the dense undergrowth. They sniffed and snuffled and snorted, determined to find their way through the wilderness. As they walked, they encountered all sorts of strange and wonderful creatures. They saw rabbits and squirrels and even a family of deer. They heard the songs of birds and the rustling of leaves in the breeze. They smelled the sweet, rich scents of the forest, and they felt the cool, damp earth beneath their feet. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, they saw a glimmer of light in the distance. It was the edge of the forest. They had found their way through. Freddie and Ferdy were overjoyed. They hugged and danced and celebrated, grateful to have made it through the forest unscathed. And as they emerged from the forest and into the golden light of the setting sun, they knew that they had experienced an adventure unlike any other. They had faced their fears and overcome their challenges, and they had done it together, as the best of friends. The end.